Welcome back to the Creative Juice podcast. Today, we are sitting down with someone who has shaped some of the biggest moments in Fortnite Creative. Vysena, the CEO and co-founder of Vysena Studios. If you have played anything artistic, polished, or insanely detailed inside this ecosystem, you have probably touched something his team has built. Vysena has been here since the early days. They dominated 1.0, they pushed brand work to a new level, and now they are stepping into a completely new era. And the insights in this episode are crazy. I want to kick this off with something creators are going to feel instantly. This is Vysena explaining the one feature that would change Fortnite Creative forever, and if Epic shipped this, the entire ecosystem would level up overnight.
The one change that would probably change the ecosystem the most is allowing us real control over matchmaking. Matchmaking and cross-island matchmaking as well, cross-island data. This is one change that completely transformed Minecraft servers as well. And I think this is something that would really completely change the whole ecosystem.
Now this next moment is pure behind-the-scenes heat. During the Naruto project, Vysena almost pulled off a live event style fight that would have played out right in front of players. This is the kind of idea most people never hear about. Check this out.
For example, we were on the process of creating some kind of live event where people could actually watch Naruto and actually play Naruto at the same time. There would be a fight from Naruto, and the fight would actually happen in the game.
This is just the start. We dive into the Vysena origin story, how brand work really gets done in Fortnite, what separates great creators from average ones, and where this whole platform is heading next. Let's get into it.
This is Creative Juice.
All right, I think we're live, man. Vysena, how you doing?
Hi, I'm doing great, and you?
I'm doing really well, man. I'm so excited to have you. I think we've been talking about having you coming on for a while now, and I'm so glad we could finally make it happen. You guys have had lots of news, lots of things going on within your studio that I definitely can't wait to jump into. But not only that, man, I mean, Vysena, you're the CEO and co-founder of Vysena, which is a top Fortnite creative studio. They've been a top creative studio in the 1.0 days and carrying that on within UEFN as well, which these days it's not funny. It's rare. It's rare that we've seen a lot of these 1.0 teams kind of stick around and do as well as you have. Not to mention, I think, when it comes to brand work, you guys are at the top of the list and how, when it comes to how many brands you've actually worked with your team. You're right up there, top 3, I don't even know. No one knows the actual number,
I don't
but
even know
I know you guys are right.
Yeah.
Way up there. But anyway, I'll stop yakking. Let's get into the questions, brother. So before Fortnite, what were you doing and what pulled you into building, Worlds Inside Creative in the first place?
So before Fortnite, I was a high school student. So I was a high school student when the game itself launched. I started by playing the game, Battle Royale, in 2018. Before that, I was playing Minecraft, doing a lot of UGC in Minecraft as well. I often realize that I've been doing UGC on many games. I mean, it's not technically UGC, but games like Trackmania, for example, I always like to create my own tracks, even if there's not the whole publishing things, etc. And even the first one that I remember is a Lego video game, Lego Harry Potter, in which you could create games on it. And that's my first experience. And when Fortnite Creative came out, because I was already a Fortnite player, then of course I was like, oh, let's try it out. And so day one, I was trying it and playing with it.
That's crazy. That's a very similar story. Even for me, I mean, I'm a little older. I go back to Unreal Engine. That's kind of where I started UGC a little bit in games. But even Tony Hawk. I think people forget about the editor in Tony Hawk. I mean, there is UGC components in lots of different games. I mean, most of them don't have monetization.
Yeah.
It's a little different story, especially when we want to try to create a business around it. But no, very cool, man. Very cool and very, very similar start as well to yourself. So there is always that moment where creative stops feeling like a side, I guess, hustle, and it starts to feel real. So when did you first realize that Fortnite Creative could become more than just a hobby for you?
That's for the first few months, maybe the first few years. But the first year of building in Fortnite, I was just making the things on my own. Even if I wanted to try to work with some influencer and everything was mostly for free. I was just doing it because I'm glad that people play my games and I'm happy. And I was not realizing that support a creator could actually generate money as much as what we think that influencer can generate. But it's after meeting creators especially Sunday CW, with whom I collaborated on creating a game. It was called Impulse Royale, and at the time he had a creative hub. And so he wanted to collab with me on making that game. And well, it didn't make that crazy amount of money, but for me at the time, it was like, oh, we can actually make money. And so that's when I realized there's something actually.
Yeah, no, for sure. Sunday's a goat, by the way. And anyone listening, Sunday had the top Squid, still does, but like a top Squid Games map as well in this ecosystem. But he goes back as a goat. Like he's been around in our community for a long time, and he's always been building heat. So that's crazy that he had a hub and let you like use your map in that feature. That's amazing. So like in 1.0 days, or like what would you like to start creating with? Like what kind of maps? Was it like comp strictly?
I was mostly focused on artistic builds, like artistic games mostly. And that's probably one of the reasons why I ended up working so much on brand deals, because brand deals was allowing me to create something much more artistic. So that was probably my main focus at the time.
Yeah. And support a creator, by the way. It was like a good and bad thing. Like, and I'm glad of how the payment structure has changed, because we were all sick of the spamming support a creator, but now there's other spam things, but you know what I'm saying. But I did the same thing. I remember I was just making my games for my friends or for people, for my social medias. And like, I never even like submitted my games for features back then or anything. Right. And now looking back, I feel stupid because knowing how much money was at stake, but also not really, you know what I mean? I it all worked out. Right. Right. Yeah. But it's funny that you just reminded me that I was like, oh yeah, I kind of did the same thing. It was like, you didn't really know how much money there really was in Fortnite Creative 1.0. And not even, especially when they gave us more things, matchmaking portals and LTMs, it was pretty good money.
Yeah, and one thing that I could say related to that is that I think maybe more than 50% of my success was because I speak English. And there's a lot of other French creators, they don't speak English, or they can understand, but they don't feel confident with it enough to go on Reddit and all those English social media. They're going to follow the French Fortnite on Twitter, but not the international one. And there's a lot of opportunity that they could miss at the time. Now everyone is much more aware of all this news, but back in the days in 1.0, it was much harder, and a lot of people were not aware that they could submit something for feature, submit something for the block. And actually the way I got my creator code was because I submitted something for the block on Reddit, and I received the creator code like that. And if I was just a French creator focused on French market, or then it would never have happened.
Crazy. That makes a lot of sense. I got my code on Reddit as well. A lot of us creators back then, we didn't have the 1,000 followers. So yeah, I got lucky. I got lucky as well on Reddit. No, that's a great point. I didn't think of that because I mean, even back then they didn't have as much, French like even international representation as they do today in Fortnite. And I remember like Noah, who was on your team, and he could speak pretty good English, I thought, but he felt really nervous about talking. And I remember, I think I must have been in a call with all you and some of the people on your team. We'll get into your team soon enough. And I remember like he had some kind of a translator for a little bit. I think he speaks. I don't think he needs one anymore. I'm sure he's really improved.
He speaks English, but like, of course, not as fluent as me. And the most important is like the confidence, the confidence to think, okay, I can do it. But people like Noel, actually, one of the way that we met them is because we actually created a Discord for French people where we actually helps everyone. And now it's not as useful as it used to be because, well, the news are displayed in French and everything. But at the time, all those news that only English people are aware of, that this is something that we would like share to French creators. And that's one of the way we met most of the people who work now at Vysena, because they joined the team. We started to get along with them. We loved their work and their ethics. And so that's how it started.
Glad you did. There's so many go-to creators that came out of there. And we'll get into a few of them. But no, that I'm glad you brought that point up because, us Americans, we don't even, we're in our own little world over here. And we don't think about those issues. But you know what? Localization. That's why it's important for your games, everyone listening. So let's move on to the next question. And of course, like we've kind of already talked about, insinuated a little bit, but team matters, right? So like, how did early Vysena team come together? And what made that group feel special enough to build the studio around it?
So the first actual creation of Vysena happened with the BTS project. So Sunday and Trey got contacted to create a game for BTS in collaboration with Epic Games, and they brought me in as well because they knew that I loved K-pop and that I had a lot of knowledge on that.
Yeah.
And so we all worked, the three of us, because of course we know each other. And that's the first time that we were like, oh, we need a creator code for this project. We need a name for this release. Now, of course, at the time we were like, oh yeah, we've had been talking about creating a team for a while already. So it was the first occasion to do it. Although at the time it was not easy to actually create a creator code, but because it was like an Epic project, then we could have the support to actually have the account on its own. So like we had the Vysena account, and now we could actually call it a real team. And later on that year, I brought up Mad Moons and Cross in the team because I was also working with them a lot, and there was a lot of synergy between all five of us. And so this is like the real core of Vysena started at the time in 2020.
Man, that's cool to hear, because I was on the outside of all of that, and I've gotten to know you a lot better, and I know Mad Moods and your whole team now. That's a crazy team. You guys were definitely an insanely huge top team, I know, and today. But like what you guys were creating, and the next question we're gonna get into it. But you guys created some of my favorite hubs and games collabs, and in this space. So let's jump into that. So some projects just hit different and change everything for a studio. Naruto. So that was a huge turning point for you guys. How did that project happen? And what did that opportunity mean for you and your team?
And so how did it happen? I think nothing really special. Like we've been contacted as well. We were a team. Epic knew that we were available. They knew that we liked the IP as well. Probably that helped. That's very important, I think, when working on a game, to know the IP and love it. And yeah, at the time I was like, yeah, this project, there's a lot of ambition to it. There's a lot that we can do. And there are also people in Vysena that loves Naruto, people that we know, we trust. And so we worked on this project all together. And yeah, it was amazing because we really loved Naruto and everything.
Yeah, we'll definitely have a video of that hub up playing. I'm going to show everyone what it looks like. It's incredible. And again, that's in 1.0. So everything's kit bash and pieced together and working. I don't think a lot of people, if you have not worked with brands, but especially anime or anything that's like very artistic or has like a strict guidelines to their IP, is very hard to work with.
Yeah.
Like how was it working with Naruto?
Well, there are a few things that ended up not being approved. Mostly not really things that we did, but like concept, probably because of timelines and everything. Like for example, we were on the process of creating some kind of live event where people could actually watch Naruto and actually play Naruto at the same time. There would be like a fight from Naruto, and the fight would actually happen in the game. But this kind of thing, unfortunately, we didn't keep it.
Yeah, probably memory.
Yeah, I mean, it was like a whole different project. It was not in the main like
got
area
it.
that
It was like
built.
a matchmaking portal to take you to it.
Yeah. But I think it's probably due to like not having the right to play the episode or something. Because I know that they loved what we did for it, and I loved it as well, of course.
Yeah.
Main difficulty in this kind of project is we don't have assets at the time in Fortnite that are Naruto. Of course, we don't have Naruto assets. We don't have all of the assets. So we have to make everything from different kind of galleries. And that's one of the things that's the most complex to do. Yeah.
100%. I mean, just the logo is thousands of pieces to create. And no, I mean, I think that like established like two things. The first thing I want to say is like any type of live events that I've seen, especially on the Roblox side, and now UEFN and stuff, we can do so much more with these live events. But that, like, adding that immersion inside of your game, and it's not just like, a walkthrough kind of thing, is huge. And I think in today's standards, it's a must in any type of activation. So man, that would have crushed. I mean, it still crushed. You guys did an amazing job. That would have crushed. But even today, but like that would do very well. But also, I think what was smart, what you did was like you showed the brand though, like anytime your studio, you go a little above and beyond and show them like kind of how your work ethic and how like it showed that brand, like how interested you guys really are. So I'm sure it really helped out, even if it doesn't go through. So no, that's amazing. It's one of my favorite collabs today inside of Fortnite. You guys crushed it.
Thank you.
Yeah, brother. Yeah. So players, they get the final experience, but they never see like the crazy stuff that happens behind the scenes. So like, what is one of the behind the scenes stories from a major project that players would never have guessed happened?
Well, beside the one that I just said, which obviously I thought about a story that's maybe more related to creator side as well, because I think creators would be like, oh, that's quite interesting.
Yeah.
It was for the March Through Time project.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Which I worked on personally, so it was not Vysena, but like, anyway, for this project, we had to recreate the whole Washington area, the park with the pool. And so I worked on mostly reproducing this. I had to recreate the Washington Monument. So I went online, I checked all the sizing. At the time, we didn't have real way to check sizing in Fortnite, but we knew if you are used to it, you know technically how long a tile is and everything. And so I recreated it with like hundreds of pieces of wall stick together. And the problem was the render distance was too far away because the Washington Monument is too big. And so what Epic ended up doing was like, oh yeah, we are just going to take what you did and we're going to make it a prop. And so they created a prop in Fortnite based on the Washington Washington Monument that I had created. And then they imported it in the game to fix the render distance issues.
That's incredible. I'm trying to think. There's a few cases where they've done that. Like I was a part of some projects that like maybe trophies and things like that, but like a whole asset. That's wild. That project was incredible. The March of Times, right? Was what it was called. Yeah. It was Martin Luther King activation. We'll definitely have videos of that. That was a really cool activation. There was a lot of creators involved in that. And I think they pulled a few from different teams as well, trying to get that through the finish line. But man, I forgot. There's so many things that have happened. I forget about all these crazy projects that was a good one as well.
Yeah.
No, great answer, man.
And for this one, they also imported the statue of Lincoln, because obviously this one we literally cannot do in Fortnite, so they had to import it.
Justice. Yeah.
The Washington Monument, you could import it as well. I mean, it's so easy. It's like just like a tower, but they actually ended up using mine, so I was very happy about that.
Definitely. Any creator would have been stoked about that. Yeah. You created your own prop inside of Fortnite for the whole ecosystem. That's wild. So moving on to the next question. Sometimes the project that means the most is sometimes not the biggest one. Like we all know that if we're in the studio and stuff. So like, what is one project you were like secretly most proud of, even if it didn't get the most attention?
Okay. Well, I think the one that I'm the most proud of is definitely the March Through Time, because it was the most meaningful by far. Even if I love other IPs more than that, of course, but in terms of like the message and everything, this is definitely what I'm the most proud of.
Yeah.
But if I had to choose something that didn't get as much recognition as this event that everyone is aware of, I would probably talk about the Lunar New Year hub in 2021 that I made, because I always think this is probably my best artistic build. And I feel like, I don't know, maybe some people don't remember it at all, and I don't know why.
And so it got picked for the New Year's hub,
yeah, it got picked for sure.
Yeah, and did you have, I'm trying to think which one it was. Did it have like fireworks and stuff at the end? Like, or, I remember like creators were like getting in it and taking photos.
Well, I can show you like some videos. It's on my YouTube. But the thing is, the reason why I think it's and I think it's completely normal. Like, it's because my art style is to create things that are more realistic instead of amazingly, how to say,
fantastical or something.
Fantastical and crazy. Yeah. And I like to stick to things that are realistic and technically hard to build. And of course, people will not realize, especially players will not realize how something may be complex, especially, when you make something that doesn't look like Fortnite.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of things that people don't realize how complex it is to make. So it is my own personal pride to have made this, because I myself know how much of a struggle it's been. But of course, I'm completely aware that people will not recognize that.
Yeah, and I'm sure a lot of the 1.0 people will remember. And again, we'll definitely show that hub up on the screen. But no, then that's awesome. Like every time we had Dumb Blonde on here not too long ago too, and the hub queen, and it's just, I miss every time I go into the little hub we go into now in UEFN, waiting for our islands to load before we play test. I just like miss the hub, like the original hub days every time. Good times, man. Good times. So let's talk about kind of like more on the brand and business side. We talked about a little bit. Let's talk a little more on that side. So you've worked with lots of brands, and they usually come in with sometimes wrong ideas. Like when a brand comes to you wanting a Fortnite experience, like what do you make sure they understand before like anything else?
Well, that may sound quite normal, and that's probably been heard thousands of times on this podcast. But what matters is the gameplay. Gameplay first. Most of the time, players are not gonna care about your IP, even if it's like famous IP. Most of the time, it's not enough to actually have enough players. What they care is a good game, and that's like the basis of everything.
No, I mean, it's good to reiterate these points anyway. Brands do listen to this podcast and stuff, so I like to give them sometimes like a little inside from the studio side of kind of like, our thought process a little bit, and also it's very true. We've seen some of the biggest like brands come into this space, and they can't hold up on their own. You know what I mean? It really is hard, and I don't think there's one brand activation game that was a bespoke custom game that still live. And maybe I'm not remembering, but that still like lives on and has a strong player base.
Yeah,
I don't think there is one, and even from like the epics, they'll make some events and things like that as well. And again, those are they're not in the top CCUs. It's very, very hard to do that. So again, integrating your brand smartly, not too much inside of a popular game that genre that people are really interested into, or can at least hit those metrics to get you a good chance in discovery is smart. So like on top of all that, like there are mistakes that keep repeating, I'm sure. Like what are the biggest mistakes brands make when they try to build something for Fortnite without understanding the community?
I think for me, that would be short-term activations. I think the main value, the main goal that brands should seek is to have a long-lasting presence into the ecosystem. They do it better and better, and integration is also better because the integration usually lasts longer. But before, a lot of brands used to use Fortnite only as a support for an event, for example, a live stream or something. One-time event on a game, that's cool. The event is going to be amazing, but this is not the most optimized way to use Fortnite. And I think this is something very important. I completely understand why is it harder for brands to engage themselves in the long term, because of course it requires much more long-term strategy and everything. But this is really like a game changer. And just like every creators in Fortnite, you're not going to have success in your first game. Maybe not in your second, maybe not in your third, but you have to keep trying again and again, and trust the process, and it's gonna grow little by little. And yeah, most of the time, of course, brands, they have like a specific activation. They want their KPI for a specific activation, and well, that can work, of course, and most of the time it works. It is great, but my vision is the best way to use Fortnite is for the long term.
That's a great point. That's a great point. And like, even if you look at like what Epic has told us to make your game successful on the platform, and a lot of that is iteration and updates and adding new things to your game. Like, they are looking at those things when you're updating your game. They're looking at your verse code. They're looking at all these things. And so that is a great point, and agree. Most brands are just looking for that pop and, on to the next thing. But like, I think having a really good live ops plan, a good social media plan as well. Sure, like the stream is great. A lot of brands love to do that, but those come in. A lot of people just want to play with the streamer anyway. So like, having a good social media plan afterwards, on top of that with shorts or other influencers, stuff that lives longer, I definitely feel works better. There's what at least what I've seen on some successful games. So that is a great point, and I hope brands listening take notes, because agree, it shouldn't just make this. Let's publish and boom.
I think it's a bit related to the previous answer as well. Like, what matters is the gameplay, not the IP. Instead of like having a huge spike during 1 or 2 days where you push your IP everywhere on the game, and you have like 1 million players who see your game with your IP everywhere just one weekend. that's great, that can work. But if you have your IP much like in a much smaller scale integrated into the game, but it's still here, it's still part of players' daily routine, and that is what matters. So instead of like just focusing on one big spike, even if that's okay, focusing on just being part of players' daily routine, daily lives, because that's one of the main difference of Fortnite, of a video game, is that players play it daily or weekly. They come back again and again, and this is becoming part of their routine. This is what has a lot of power. That's something very important. Like, you don't need to be everywhere, just be somewhere daily again and again, and that's the most important.
Yeah, 100%. And that, and again, that just goes with it. Most maps, I mean, most games in this ecosystem, you see just that. They publish, that's it. They think it's just the algorithm's going to take off and it's going to pick up and I'm done. And as anyone knows, and that's deeply involved in game development knows, that's when it actually starts. And it is frustrating when working with brands because we put so much time and effort in making this perfect game. And then after launch, we're just kind of like our hands are tied. We can't do anything with it. And especially if you have that initial spike, you have some success, you're seeing those KPIs do well. That's a signal to go even far harder on it. So no, that is a great point. Thank you for bringing that up, Yuza. So let's kind of talk about UEFN and kind of some creator insight, man. You're dropping some great knowledge, and I appreciate it. So in UEFN, I don't know if it's really easy, but it's getting easier to kind of tell who's like leveling up and who's not. And again, this doesn't matter really. We know like some games, it doesn't matter how high fidelity they are, but like, what separates the average creator from like a great creator inside of UEFN right now? This is a tough question. I'm putting you on the spot.
Yeah. I think what matters is adaptability to all the change that the ecosystem has, because the ecosystem is still moving so fast.
Yeah.
And so adaptability, I mean, like with the meta of what kind of game to make currently. So for example, the brain rots is a very good example. You had to see it coming. You had to adapt very quickly to this new trend. And of course, all the updates as well, the new tools, the new bug fixes from everything. And yeah, right now, the being a UEFN creator, you cannot miss too long. You have to keep up always. And that's something very important.
No, that's a great point. It is. It's we're still like new. Like I feel like we're still in the new phase. Like I still think we're just started. And yeah, this ecosystem, especially this year, we've gotten so many crazy new features with, well, they pushed in-app purchases to January, but that's still crazy. Like that's a huge change for our ecosystem, sponsor rows, and then all the things that they've been changing with the metrics you need to hit for discovery. They're at least being transparent about it now. We got data now to see how do we compete with other games. So, and then trends, like you're right, just trends, being able to be quickly adapt to new trends and try to hit those marks. It's never ending. I think it's always kind of been that way, but even more so these days. And then of course updates. Every update, right? It always throws a wrench in your game, or it's not as stable. And we've been dealing with this for 5-6 years, almost 6 years here in 4 days, dude. It's crazy. And it's tough. A lot of teams, and I'm sure, let me ask you this. So like when a mechanic breaks, and it's something Epic did, how do you handle that? Like, and this is what I'm kind of asking, do you just say, okay, I'm going to wait for Epic to fix it? Or do you guys go fix it yourself?
It depends on the mechanic, of course. Sometimes if it's something that is not game breaking, maybe sometimes we have other priorities. But what we are used to do now is finding other way around to use something else to do the same thing. Of course, we prefer when it's like much more direct. Yeah. Because the more way to do around, then the more likely it is to break. But when we don't have the choice, then we have to just find another way to make it work. Well, unfortunately, sometimes they literally break things that we can't replace.
Yep.
But when that happens, most of the time it happens on all the games, and they release a hotfix very quickly, thankfully.
Yeah. No, very true. Look, and I wanted to set you up with that question because I've heard people, big studios in our space, oh, Epic, this is broke, and it's a lot of them are and from the new, like since UEFN came out, I feel like we've been used to this. Like we just waited. We knew, okay, update day, we're ready to add this fix or add these workarounds. So I feel like, that's something that actually is like a plus or something like ingrained in 1.0 teams. But yeah, I hear some of these I've heard some creators tell me that, and I'm just like, what are you doing? Your game's gonna die, man. You gotta fix it or figure a workaround. Like,
Yeah.
and again, you gotta assess what it is. Obviously, if it's something not meaningful for your game, but if it's breaking your game, you need to fix it. Anyway, thank you for entertaining that question.
But yeah, sometimes even like having like systems that have different levels of, how to say, you want to do something, you make it work by one way, but you can have like subsystems, like in case of emergency, if it breaks, then the other things will work as well.
100%. Basically like a backup, like a redundant system to help, redundancy in your programming. So to help, if it does break, you have a fail safe. There we go.
Yeah, exactly.
Took me a while. I'll get there. Yes, 100%. So I want to talk about Vysena, the rebrand you guys just did here. Was it a month ago now?
2 months ago, maybe.
Not too much. Yeah, it goes by. Dude, we're in December, dude. This is crazy. Time is flying. I really wanted to talk about this. So you called this next phase a new era for Vysena, and it caught a lot of attention. That was a very smart marketing. I love what you guys did with that. So with you entering with Vysena entering a new era, like, what changed behind the scenes, and what does this rebrand represent for your next chapter?
Well, this rebrand, this is something that we've wanted to do for a while, but it was hard to find what we liked.
Yeah.
The actual branding and everything that actually match what we want to represent, how we want to explain ourselves. So it took very, very long to actually make it work, and especially because Vysena, we are like 99% creators. Like, our job is to create, and we are not like salesperson or all this kind of thing. We are not influencers and everything, even if we have to and we try to. But the core of Vysena is we are creators. And it's also one of the reasons why it takes more time, but it's also what we want to express and show as well. And at the same time, we want to show that we are professionals as well. The branding we had before was nice, but we didn't have it was not complete. It was not thought as deeply as the current one. And it prevented us in many situations from creating visuals that have something coherent in all of our different way to communicate. So yeah, it's like a new way for us to express ourselves, to show that, to explain who we are. Also a difference on what we are going to do as a team, because we mostly used to work only for brands, but now we realize, especially with the current shift in the industry, I mean, it's not current, it's been going on for more than a year now. What matters now is going to be much more brand integrations, and because we worked only for brands for so long, then we don't have games that actually have players. We need to create a player base, we need to become player focused, player centered again, and that's mostly internally the biggest change in Vysena.
Yeah, no, makes sense. And yeah, it definitely is. In the last few years, been a little rough. Like, the brand side of things have slowed down a little bit. A lot of brands are looking like for integrations into popular maps already. And yeah, I feel like the teams that had a map that generated income have had a little easier time
for sure,
keep their studio going, right? And yeah, look, like, it's I have these, trust me, I go back to some of my games and like, why didn't I keep these going or this or that? I mean, I had games that had CCUs today that I like sunset, like that people would dream of for today. I just couldn't keep up all my games that were doing well. I had to pick. And I'm sure I know you guys had some really successful maps as well early on. And yeah, man, I beat myself up too much sometimes about some of those games. But that is a great point. And I think any team developer listening, that's a very, very smart observation. And again, it's easy to say though too as well. It's very hard to get a game going and stick and stay. But you guys have the sauce, man. You guys have the creative team to do it. And you have like lots of creators inside of your team as well have some successful games in this platform right now. So no, man, thank you for sharing that. Makes a lot of sense. And yeah, I remember I saw the tweet and it made it look like you guys were kind of like closing the studio or something. And I was like, oh no, what's going on? And we've been trying to set this up. So I kind of knew something was going on, but like I didn't know what was going on. And we wanted you to come on after the rebrand. So now That was smart. That you say you don't like social media sites, but you guys are. That was a very smart play.
I mean, we really thought that the community would understand because we literally put the black hole from Fortnite, which is supposed to be well known as like the fake end, but then actually it's not the end. But unfortunately, people didn't realize. But actually, it's not really unfortunately, because the reason why it got shared so much is actually because people ended up not realizing as much as we used to think. But at least people are aware. So that's cool.
Definitely. And that, look, sometimes you just like even typos in posts and stuff, like you don't realize like, oh no, I mistaked this or that. But then like it blows up because everyone wants to tell you how bad you can spell, right? It's like these little things in social media that you think are bad or like, or not even bad, but like you're like, oh, maybe they're going to take it the wrong way, but it ends up being good like that sometimes. Social media is crazy. So you guys crushed it. So we have a few more questions before we wrap up, man. This is going so fast, man. I could do this all day. We could talk all day. But before we wrap up, like I want to know, like, where can people follow everything you have coming next?
I'd say mostly our Twitter. So Vysena Studio. Yeah, that's mostly where we are the most active. Even if where we are the most active is actually UEFN.
Yeah.
But you cannot follow us directly into UEFN,
Yeah.
Unfortunately. Maybe with the new changes inside of Fortnite, so we will be able to follow us much better inside of Fortnite. But Twitter, we try to be better on LinkedIn as well. So yeah, these two probably.
Okay, awesome. I'll have the links as well in the description for you to go follow them. I'll put your LinkedIn too if you want. So if there's any brands or anyone listening, you guys want to reach out, please do. These guys are crazy. These guys can make some really cool stuff. So moving on to the next question, like if you had full control of Fortnite for one day, this is a tough question. What is the single change you would make to transform the creator ecosystem?
One day might probably not be enough for that.
Yeah.
But I think the one change that would probably change the ecosystem the most is allowing us real control over matchmaking. Matchmaking and cross-island matchmaking as well, cross-island data. This is one change that completely transformed Minecraft servers as well. And I think this is something that would really like completely change the whole ecosystem, give us much more freedom, much more possibilities to create games, interconnected universes, servers, everything. So that's the thing that I always wish for.
That's a great answer. And I think we've been asking for that for a long time. And do you remember back in the day they added a device, and it was only for like if we were in beta or if you work for projects within Fortnite, but it was I forgot what the device is called.
Like it was a Switch device, but you could like in between islands.
It would sync between islands, and I think it was done on the Jordan activation.
Yep. Back
in the day. But we were all excited, like, oh, here we go, it's coming, we can finally do this, and it just never came. It never came. And then UEFN came out, and it still hasn't came. But the good news is, and I'm sure you saw, but like. The roadmap, it does look like it's a possibility in 2026 we might be able to get these features.
Yeah, hopefully in 2027 we will have these features around 2028.
Hopefully. Come on, Epic. We can't keep pushing some of these big things. We need them. Especially if Unity is coming. Please, like if Unity comes and they can do a lot, like add weapons and match all these things with leaderboard, all these things. If they can have those controls and we don't, well, that's another topic. Let's not go down that road. Anyway, so let's wrap it up, brother. This is the last question. This has been a great episode, man. And again, love having you, man. So what's next for Vysena? Like anything we should be looking out for in the future?
Next for Vysena is a new game releases. That's about it, even if it's not. It's not that small. It's like actually, we are releasing games, so it's a huge thing.
Yeah.
A few games, mostly like some of them following the brain rot trends, of course.
Okay.
With our own special sauce and trying to create great games. That's what's current and next.
Awesome. Any dates we should see those? Anything before the end of the year?
No idea. I have no idea.
All good. I understand. No, that's exciting, brother. No, and smart. We'll definitely keep an eye out for those. And man, yeah. Again, great episode. Thank you for sharing so much. Appreciate your time.
You're welcome, and thank you for the invite.
Yeah, of course. Anytime, brother. Anytime, man. And we'll be in touch, brother. And Yeah, we will maybe have to have you come on again after one of your games just blows up. All right.
Hopefully.
Yes. All right, man. We'll catch you next time, brother. Take care. This was such a great conversation. Huge thank you to Yuza for coming on and sharing so much insight. If you want to keep up with everything he and Vysena Studios are building, all his links are in the description. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure you are following the show, subscribe on YouTube, like the video, and leave a positive review on your favorite podcast app. It really helps the podcast grow. See you in a fortnight, which is in 2 weeks. And remember, don't hate, create.